and I'm going to share my screen. And if, while I'm talking, if anybody has a question, interrupt me, unmute yourself, and pipe up so that I can address your concerns. So I'm going to share it. Okay. And, okay. Now, here is, can everybody see my screen? Okay. This is one of your classes. This happens to be the Wednesday class, but they are all the same. And what I will do, whenever you come into Blackboard and all the classes you're taking, in my class particularly, you always go to the content area. And for this class, you will see that every week the banner will change. And when you go into the content area, the banner, this is week 1. The banner graphic is reflected here. And when you go to week 2, next week, you're going to see the week 2 graphic. So it kind of ties in one to another. Now we're going to go back to the content. And I want you all, I explained to you before that you go into the README first, and that gives you the course outline. I don't want to bother and take up a lot of your time going through the whole course outline. The only thing I do want to point out is in the course outline, which is a PDF, this, by the way, reflects what's in Blackboard. Right now, when you go into Blackboard, you're only seeing the first 2 weeks. I will reveal each week to try to keep you in pace. Otherwise, it's going to be rather confusing if I'm going to throw all of this at you at one time. Now, the only thing I want to point out to is the grading is pretty much consistent each semester with visual communications in this course. Everything's going to be broken down to, like I did here, 25% for your exams, 30% for your projects, 25% for your, and I call it papers. The papers are really presentations. And the first one we'll cover in a few minutes will be your categories of graphic design. Then there'll be 10% will be your exercises and assignments. And the final exam will be 10%. Sometimes it goes to 5%. It depends on how much you get done this semester. But that's the only thing, the way everything is calculated. All of your, let's go back to here. All of your work, and back, I'll go to this graphic here. Everything you do here will be submitted in Blackboard in the red drop boxes. And I'm trying to put the word Dropbox at the end of all the assignments, but if you see it in red, you'll know that that's a gradable item. That's something that you will submit, and I will grade you, and you will see the grade reflected as soon as I do it. Whenever you go into Blackboard, in all these folders, anything that's blue is content, and you need to read over all that stuff, and I'll go over that a little bit today regarding that first assignment. If you see this icon, that means it's a link, and I can't color code the link, but if you see that, review that as well. If you see the orange, those are video tutorials, and you'll see throughout the semester there are things that technically are demonstrated in these tutorials. And I've also done quite a few from the internet that I coded in orange to help you out. And just for your planning, most of the tutorials are less than 15 minutes long, so that it'd be worth your while to go through them. In some of your projects, there may be several tutorials on one particular project, and I did it so that you can pace yourself and you can do it step by step. Like, for example, the Nemo, when we all do Finding Nemo. All right, now, attendance. I will certainly take your attendance at the Zoom meetings, but more importantly, every week I go over the Dropbox, I go over the grade book, and just for example, here's the grade center right here, and here's needs grading. All right, now already I see that Eric has attempted the Frags Dropbox, and so has Alora, and so forth and so on. So obviously you understood these people were able to successfully give me their assignment. Then I will look at the assignment and I will grade it. And if I can, I try to give you a comment, and other than that, we can communicate rather easily through this interface. So let's go back to the content again. And I'm going to go over one last thing in this README first. In the, I did not put anything, textbooks. I don't require that you buy a textbook. It's not worth it anymore. Years ago, I used to have students do that and disregard my dogs. But what we did through this course, I have put in whatever I could, links to appropriate targeted stuff from the textbooks that will help you understand the concepts and will also help you with the tests coming up. So for anyone who had a question, there are no required textbooks. The library, if ever opens up again, if you ever go over there, they have some on reserve, but it's really not important. You don't have to go and read these things. I've tried to give you everything in Blackboard. And as a little background, I created this. I was the first in the college to do distance learning way back. And I'm the one who created the Viscom program. So I've been doing this for a long time. I've been at the college for over 30 years. So everybody who's ever gone through here, I've had. So consequently, this course that you're taking has been in the works for a long, long time. And I've tried to get it so that it's as easy to understand and as easy to navigate as possible. Okay, now, I want to bring your attention to the Adobe CC instructions to download. I don't know who's doing that, but I do want everybody to attempt to do this in order to see if you can get the software. Now, we are lucky insofar as we have this situation where you will not have to pay for this if you can download it through these instructions. Let me know. What I'm interested in is emailing. You email me if you're having any problem. By next week's class, by the meeting, I'd like you to tell me if you were successful in getting the software. And the software that we'll be using will be Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. Now, I understand that some people may not succeed in doing this, and some people may not have the hardware. Incidentally, the Chromebook will not play the Adobe products. So, but I do want, technically, I want you all to try to do this. No, Sammy, I want you all to try to do this so that I will know next week how to plan the coming weeks. So, because a lot of the stuff in here will use software, but I made it so that you don't have to have the software in order to be very successful in this course. All right, now, anybody have any questions? Okay. This folder here contains these introductory tutorials from Adobe on how to use the software. If we get it in, I recommend that you try these first few. The first one I would do would be the Photoshop, and then I would do the InDesign one. But we will, but again, it's really a moot point unless everybody's able to download these successfully. So you let me know, and by next week, I'll give you the update of how we're going to handle this. Now, we're going to go quickly into week 1. And the first thing for the first week, I ask you to identify these frags. These are logo fragments. And it's just a way for you to interact and use Blackboard. You are then, after you submit what your guess is for all these things, you tell me what your major is, what program you're in, and why you chose to take this wonderful course. So, and then you submit that, you click here and you hit the submit. And now regarding all this, you need to submit a recognizable format. Now, if you go in, you'll see a text box. You can submit your answers right into the text box that's provided in the Dropbox. And then you hit the submit button. You always have to hit the submit button. Now, you could write it somewhere else, and then you can copy and paste it into the text box. Or you could write it somewhere else, for example, in Word, and then you can save the Word document and you attach the Word document in as your submission. Now, if you if you have something that does not contain a file extension, like .docx, for example, then Blackboard very likely will not recognize it. And when I go to grade it, I won't see it. Now, I'm telling you about this now because when I see this in what happened, I will give you a 0. However, don't fret. It means you probably were not able to successfully submit it. So you have to go back and resubmit it in a recognizable format. And the one thing you should always look for is that it has a file extension, such as .docx or .pdf or .jpg or JPEG. You can do a ping, but you'll see as we go along, these are how these things work. And again, I've made every assignment right now will have unlimited submissions. And every assignment will have a due date. Now, what I want to impress upon you is that I do this in order to give you the chance to get used to this whole system, and so that you don't think that you're failing if you see that you're getting a 0. So the whole idea is for you to keep trying until you get it in there, and then after a while, you'll get the hang of it. As far as the due dates go, if you submit something and you've passed the deadline, don't worry, I am not going to penalize you at this point. There'll come a point in the middle of the semester where I'm going to say to you, please get everything in from the first 5 weeks so that we can catch up. But for now, in order to get everybody used to this, I want you to be comfortable with each of the drop boxes and submitting the work. Now, that's Dropbox number 1. Now, the direct and mediated images Dropbox, this is something where you're going to write just 2 paragraphs. One of them, you're going to do the first paragraph, you write about 2 images that you recall. Now, all of this is referenced by Aldous Huxley and here is the Visual Communications PowerPoint introduces the first 2 weeks information. If you click on this, it brings up a PowerPoint presentation, and slide number 17 discusses the type of images that our brain perceives. We direct, mediated, and imagined or mental. And in this assignment, you're writing about 2 direct, meaning things that you recall that you have usually it's a traumatic event that you remember and you can picture in your mind what it looked like. That's a direct image, something that you directly experienced. A mediated image is an image that you remember that you had seen either on TV, on your phone, on the computer, in a movie, on anywhere, any mediated source, anything you can remember. And in that particular assignment, I put this one in because when I was doing this assignment, it's been a long time. In 2001, this was the World Trade Center. And of course, the students after that wrote a lot about this picture, which everybody saw. Everybody, and here they included the picture. So that's an example of a mediated image. Now, in this assignment for this week, I made it due at the end of this week. I do want you to get the experience of writing and then submitting it. And again, if you're doing it in Word, that's fine. If everybody next week tells me that they have the software, I'm going to use this as a demonstration of how to bring a Word document into InDesign, and then teach you the proper way to be able to do the next assignment where you're going to put pictures in. But that's jumping ahead. So those are the first two assignments. This one in here, I did it red because in the folder, you'll find the Dropbox with the categories of design presentation. This one is one of the 4 presentations you're going to do, or 4 projects that fall under the category of presentation / paper, and that will comprise 25% of your grade. So on this one, you are to read about the categories of graphic design, and then you choose 2 of these, and you follow the directions here and describe what they are, and you pick 2 firms that specialize in the category that you're talking about. And a lot of students will incorporate websites in their presentation so that the viewer of the slideshow can take a look at what the company does. Now, I used to make people do this as a paper, but we're not doing papers. It's very important that regardless of what your major is or your program is, it's very important that you get used to quickly creating presentations that are effective, simple, and to the point. And again, this is, I encourage you to do this because I have many students in many fields who this is always part of it. My son and my daughter is finishing her physician assistant program in Boston, and she has to on the spot create presentations. My son is a trauma surgeon in Virginia, and he just finished his fellowship at Westchester Medical Center running the COVID ICU. And he, every week, had to do presentations to the whole hospital on the fly. And I just bring that up because all through his whole career, he has had to do this. So I'm going to make you do it. Anyway, that's your first presentation, and that's the first week. Now, I haven't gotten my thing. We're moving right along. Now, if there's no questions about the first week, let me just do one more thing. I mentioned Aldous Huxley. This one is a website, and I couldn't color code it blue, but definitely look over this because a lot of the work in studying visual communications is informed by Aldous Huxley. The more you know, the more you see. And we're going to learn about what it is that makes us attracted to an image, what makes us remember an image, and then hopefully we're going to become very effective designers ourselves. I have 10 more minutes. So I'm going to try to get this done so we don't have to run out of time. When it comes time for exams, I want you to understand that everything is going to be done on the computer so that you will have access to all this information while you do the exam. So I expect you to read it, but remember that when a question comes up and asks you about the circle dance, you can go down to here and you can click on this and say, okay, back in week 1, I saw those terms for the circle dance, and this is what he's asking me to do in the exam. So This is all to help you to try to reinforce some of the basic concepts that we're going to learn in this course. This one is the notes from Huxley, and it's really quite good, and it will help you with the assignments for this week and for next week. And rather than go through next week, I'll just give you a preview. Since I opened it up, you should take a look at all this and start preparing for these assignments for next week. And again, I added a Quizlet, which adds more information that you should look at. But again, I like to do this so that you have at your fingertips all the information that you're going to be asked in the exams that are coming up. So since we have, let's see, 8 minutes left, I am going to stop the recording. I can't even get out of this thing. Let's see. Stop recording. Okay, stop share. Oh, I know, I'm going to stop the sharing. There we go. Okay, and